for you to take home. And also, we got great discounts on our Silverado trucks. We got the regular cab, crew cab, double cabs, discounted up to $9,000 off. Great selection, Randy Marion Chevrolet in Statesville, right on I-40.
Everyone, welcome. You're listening to the Scoreboard, and I am here live in studio. Ooh, do we have some fun today? Talking about sports for the next, let's call it 54 minutes or so, somewhere around that area. We have Carolina Panther news. Did we run out of luck on the injury front here in Carolina? That could be one of the topics of conversation today. A little bit of NASCAR news as well. Yesterday, we talked extensively on the penalties that were handed down. Richard Childress Racing, Austin Dillon, Joey Logano, all of those people getting fines. There was a suspension handed out, but we look forward. Michigan's coming up this weekend. I cannot wait to see the interviews from the media time that these drivers have at Michigan. It's going to be, get your popcorn ready. I want to hear what the drivers who weren't involved in the incident have to say. I've heard plenty from Denny. I've heard plenty from Logano. We've heard plenty of interviews and audio from Austin Dillon. I want to know what the guys behind them were thinking. People who saw it post-race. I want to know what their thought is. So we'll talk about that as well. The Carolina Panthers coming up on, they have a preseason game Saturday. And here we are. We're seeing possible injuries plague this team before we even get into the season. We're also going to start chatting about, some football previewing. I'm not quite ready to do my Carolina Panther preview, but we do have college football coming up. Not this weekend, next weekend. College football begins. So we'll start talking a little bit of college, see who's projected to be really good, remind you what the preseason rankings are, get you set for all of that. Next week, also high school football begins. We do have some sports already in session in high school. So we will be covering those pretty much throughout the fall, throughout the summer, or winter, I should say, throughout the spring, all the way through your school years, keeping you up to date with what's going on in the high school sports land. The NBA schedule is starting to leak out. We have some Christmas Day games that were already announced. I'll tell you what, that would be very important, but the NFL is starting to, they're starting to take over the Christmas Day calendar. And it doesn't take much for them to do that. They just have to put a game on Christmas and they will take over because the NBA will never be able to beat out the NFL, not at least for quite some time. So this year, the NFL has a couple of games scheduled on Christmas Day. Chiefs, Steelers, Ravens, Texans. Those are the two that we have scheduled for Christmas Day. And the NBA is releasing some of their games, some rivalry games, some Christmas Day games dropping out there. So we'll take a look at what that looks like. Also, the MLB season, Major League Baseball. Did you see what Michael Harris did the other day? Michael Harris Jr. Hitting a grand slam in his first game since coming off the injured reserve list. Pretty awesome. In the first inning, by the way. Into the water in San Francisco, over that right field wall. So we'll talk some baseball as the MLB season. We're about a month and a half away from the playoffs beginning, and we have some battles starting to heat up. Looking at the stats sheet, though, currently Aaron Judge sits at 43 home runs. Yes, you heard that correctly. 43 home runs. The Yankees, as a team, are 122 games into the season. Can he hit 63 in the next 40 games? There's only 40 games left in the year for the Yankees, so who knows? We'll keep an eye on that. But, man, 43 home runs already. He'll definitely get into the 50s. Maybe sniff the 60s as well. Some changes in the standings here. Some more teams starting to track down those LA Dodgers. Man, this is going to be a story for the remainder of the year, and it's going to be an interesting one, that's for sure. The LA Dodgers, the super team that they have. Right now, the Arizona Diamondbacks and the San Diego Padres, both only 2 games back. Yes, you heard me correctly. With, like I said, only 40 games remaining in the season. So I'll give you a rundown of the baseball season, tell you who to look at, who's hot as we approach really crunch time for your playoff push. This is it. If you don't win games now, you're going to be in trouble. And I'll tell you what, the Braves are a team to keep an eye on. You're also going to want to keep an eye on, like we just said, the Padres and the Diamondbacks. Don't quite count out last year's World Series winner either, the Texas Rangers. I know they got a little bit of a ways to go in the AL West, but anything's possible. Still plenty of time for them to close the gap there, although it doesn't look as promising as some of the other races. The Houston Astros are the hottest team in baseball right now. If you were unaware, the Astros are on a nice 8-game winning streak. The Diamondbacks are on a 6-game winning streak as well. But you have the Astros on an 8-game winning streak. Hottest team in baseball right now. Coldest team in baseball are the Pittsburgh Pirates. They're not faring well here. They were in the playoff race not long ago. A couple of weeks ago, I would have said, man, keep an eye on them. If they keep getting energy from Paul Skeens and what he's been able to do, they have now lost 10 consecutive games of the Pittsburgh Pirates. They have now fallen 8 games back of the wild card. And I'll tell you what, the wild card in the National League is starting to look more normal, more like you would expect the spread to be, because there was a long time during the season where everybody in the National League was sitting right around 500, except for 3 of your division leaders. Other than that, it felt like everybody in the National League was just hovering at 500. You had your 3 big guns and your 2 teams who you don't even have to consider them a team right now because they've been pretty bad, the Marlins and the Rockies. But things are starting to separate here right now as we've entered our baseball conversation for the day. Leading the wild card, the Diamondbacks, the Padres, and the Braves. You have the New York Mets 2.5 games back, San Francisco Giants and Cincinnati Reds, and the St. Louis Cardinals all 4.5 games back. You got to go back to 8 games to find those Pirates, who were right in the mix of things not all that long ago. Just shows you how much things can change, how quick things can change in the MLB, which is why nobody's out of it yet. Not until you're mathematically out of it. So we'll talk a little baseball throughout the remainder of the year. When we come back, we'll start our NASCAR conversation. Then we'll get into some Panther talk. So stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back after this.
More of sports director Joe Berg's The Scoreboard is coming up on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Well, still some great weather for our Thursday. The low humidity hangs around for another day. We'll see plenty of sunshine. Temperatures will be comfortable, climbing into the mid-80s for the afternoon. As we get into Friday and into the weekend, the humidity comes back, as well as that low summertime-like chance for a few pop-up showers and thunderstorms. Weekend, though, is in pretty good shape. Mid-80s, a little sticky, but most of your outdoor plans should remain dry. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
The app with Lake Norman deals. The WSIC app is out now, wherever you get your apps.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. Langtree Live in Mooresville continues their free Thursday concert series with the Rocky Lynn Band on August 15th. Rocky brings his original and patriotic country music performance to Langtree Lake Norman off exit 31 from I-77. Grab your lawn chairs, set up your spot on the grass, eat and drink at the restaurants and pubs of Langtree, and enjoy the Rocky Lynn concert Thursday at 7 p.m. RevFast in Mooresville presents Hot Rods and Hops on Friday night. This monthly gathering for the car, truck, and motorcycle communities begins at 6 p.m. Food trucks and Hoptown Brewing will be on hand for eats and drinks. Bring your classic or new hot rod out and come make some new friends. RevFast Detail Shop in Mooresville presents Hot Rods and Hops on Friday night. The Cookout Monster Truck Bash is at the dirt track at Charlotte Motor Speedway this Saturday. Sparks will fly as the metal-bashing 2,000 horsepower machines return for a night of high-flying action on the planet's most diabolical outdoor course. Gates open at 4 p.m. Bring a Cookout Cup for a free early access to the pit party beginning at 3:30. Pit party includes monster truck rides, inflatable slides, bounce houses, face painting, an autograph session, and souvenirs. Opening ceremonies will begin at 7. Visit CharlotteMotorspeedway.com or the CMS app for information and details. Ghostface Brewing in Mooresville rocks their parking lot this Sunday with a concert by Black Glass. Waves Entertainment brings their stage and sound to Ghostface for a show by Carolina's premier rock and roll cover band. The brewery will be open to serve their full kitchen and draft beer menus. Rock the Lot begins at 5 p.m. Bring your chairs for a good seat at the 6 p.m. Black Glass concert at Ghostface Brewing in Mooresville this Sunday. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
We're at Black Automotive. The Buick Encore GX is now at a low 0.9% for 36 months or a $3,000 rebate. Or the Buick Envista is also 0.9% for 36 months. And there's more here at Black Automotive Statesville.
It ain't easy being number one.
But we make it look good.
WSIC.
The Scoreboard with Joe Berg continues now on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. You're listening to the Scoreboard. 844 Studio 4. That's 844-788-3464. Anything on your mind that you want to chat about in the next, let's call it another, 41 minutes or so? Somewhere around there. I'm here chatting about the world of sports, seeing what's going on. We're going to move our way into some NASCAR conversation. I know everybody's probably sick and tired of it. I don't want to talk about the Austin Dillon situation anymore. We spent more than enough time on that yesterday. We talked about Dillon. We talked about Logano. I guess the only new news that we have out of that is that RCR, Richard Childress Racing, Richard himself has pretty much said, yeah, we are appealing this. So they'll appeal. They are not going to appeal the suspension of the spotter, by the way, which I found to be quite interesting considering how adamant Richard Childress was about, no, I was listening to the radio the whole time. I didn't hear anything. Call me Santa Claus. So we look ahead. By the way, I want to go over the points. That is one thing that I think we should talk about. Heading into Richmond, heading into the race, there are 34 drivers who have competed in every single race, including drivers who have missed a race for any reason and granted a waiver. So there's 30... however many I said, 34 drivers eligible to make the playoffs this year. Of those 34 drivers, Harrison Burton is the lowest on the list. Austin Dillon currently is the third lowest on the list in 31st. 31 out of 34 cars qualifying with enough races to make the playoffs. Is that a playoff driver right there? Now, I would say if he raced his way in and that last caution didn't happen, thanks Ricky Stenhouse. I guess Ricky Stenhouse, by the way, is much farther up in the points than Austin Dillon. Austin Dillon just happened to have a really good car, really good run on Sunday. But he's 31st in the points. I really think we need to add the you have to be at least 30th in points to make the playoffs rule that we used to have. When you look at the playoff picture on the NASCAR website, Austin Dillon's name isn't even on the list because he's not top 30. It only shows you the top 30, which doesn't make sense, especially if that's not a rule anymore. But, I digress. So we head to Michigan, and I want to hear from a couple of drivers, which we will here shortly. I'm going to give you real quick the outlook for Michigan this weekend. We have to go over the schedule, see who is going to be competing this week. You have the ARCA Menard Series, you have the NASCAR Xfinity Series, and the NASCAR Cup Series. On Friday, we have quite a few events on track. It's going to be a busy day for NASCAR. Practice for the ARCA Menard Series, that begins at 1:30 on Friday. Qualifying is then going to be at 2:30. And there's also a press pass from NASCAR as well at 2:30. That'll be interesting. 3:30, you'll have Xfinity practice. 4:10 will be Xfinity qualifying. And then Friday night, the Henry Ford Health 200. That's at 6 o'clock. I don't believe Michigan has lights, if I'm mistaken. I apologize, but I don't believe that track has lights. 6 o'clock for a race seems a little late, but what do I know? We'll move on. Saturday's events include practice and qualifying for the NASCAR Cup Series and the NASCAR Xfinity race. So if you're interested in watching practice and qualifying for the Michigan International Speedway, Saturday, 12:30, the Cup cars will be out on track. And then at 1:20, they'll start qualifying. 3:30, the Xfinity Series will be racing the Cabo Wabo 250. Yes, that's the name of the sponsor, Cabo Wabo 250 from Michigan. Coverage begins at 3:30 there. And on Sunday, it's the big show, the NASCAR Cup Series, the Firekeepers Casino 400 at 2:30. If you're unable to watch that race, if you're not by your TV, if you're in the car, well, what better time to listen to the race than when you're doing that? You can tune into WSIC if you're in the car around that time, and you'll catch the Firekeepers Casino 400. Coverage of that race begins at 1:30. Let's go ahead and bring up some driver audio here. I gotta make sure I have the right driver audio up because we have 3 drivers. We normally hear from them throughout the week. I kind of held it a little bit just because of what was going on with the penalties that could have been handed down from NASCAR. It was definitely an interesting week in that sense. So let's hear from last year's winner. Why not, right? Chris Buescher. He won Richmond, fair and square, no controversy. He won Richmond, and then he backed that up with a win at Michigan. Did the winning... here's what Chris Buescher has to say about winning last year, putting focus on how important that track is for Ford.
The feeling, the emotions of winning at Michigan were very largely felt from the Ford performance side, from Jack Roush, from Brad, and his history from Michigan as well. I think everybody I'm surrounded by has deep ties to the Michigan race there, and so it was important for everyone, and certainly felt the meaning behind that there. So yes, it's definitely a big deal. I'm excited to go back and try and defend that one. We've made some big gains in the Ford camp in the last several months, and excited to see how that can play out at another big racetrack where we know we were able to do well last year.
And like I said, Chris Buescher did win that race last year. We know that they're able to perform well at that racetrack. RFK, they've had a pretty good year, if you ask me. Last year, I would have said, hey, you guys really turned it up. You did a lot better than you did last year. This year, at this point in the season, they have the same amount of wins. Brad did not win last year. The first win for RFK Racing came at Richmond, so they're at the same spot. But Brad Keselowski won earlier at Darlington, one of those driver tracks that we go back to later this year, by the way. So that's going to be fun. A couple of weeks, that one will be coming up. It's actually going to be one of the few races we have for the remainder of the season that's going to be at night. Not many night races remain on the schedule. We have Daytona, the night race on Saturday, then the Sunday Cookout Southern 500, and everybody's favorite, the Bass Pro Shops night race at Bristol. So those are the only night races we have left. Don't know why we brought that up. But anyway, Chris Buescher, defending winner of the Michigan race. I would expect him to do good. You know, there's some people that haven't performed as well as I would have hoped that they would have this year, that I'm actually going to be saying, hey, come on, you guys got this. Let's figure it out. Obviously, my choice for the champion this year did not go according to plan. I'm not going to abandon ship on Kyle Busch just yet, because I do think he can still win a race before we get to the playoffs. We got Michigan, Daytona, Darlington. He's going to get in somehow, and his win won't get taken away. But also, besides Kyle Busch, Michael McDowell. I'm surprised that McDowell hasn't had a better year. He won a few races here now. He won a Daytona race. He won that road course race. He has had top 10 speed at times throughout the year. So I'm going to be looking at Michael McDowell this weekend as well, as maybe not a possible upset, but just somebody who could perform well. And I'll tell you what, as much as everybody talks about how aggressive this driver is, Carson Hocevar is probably going to win your Rookie of the Year this year. Just look at his Richmond results, man. He was... I know everybody was looking at the front of the field, Austin Dillon, and what he was able to do, but Carson Hocevar ran 8th at Richmond. That's a really good run for a car like that to finish 8th at Richmond. So just somebody who you're going to want to keep an eye on throughout the rest of the year. I have a few other drivers that we may hear from tomorrow. I'm going to hold tight on those. Eric Jones, Tyler Reddick, a couple of those drivers that we are slated to hear from. We'll wait till tomorrow to hear from them because I want to spend a little bit more time previewing the Michigan race. Michigan's always been one of my favorite tracks to watch. Just, you know, the speed of that racetrack is outstanding. But with the new next-gen car, and the racing there has been okay. I mean, I guess you could say at times the racing in the entire NASCAR season has just been okay. Yes, we've had all these wonderful moments, and moments are cool and all, but like the root of the problem is still there. These cars cannot follow each other in a corner. Hopefully, one of these days, they'll be able to get it figured out. We're heading to our next commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk Carolina Panthers football. Coming up on the preseason game number 2 against the Jets. Injury update. What's up with Bryce Young after a rough practice yesterday? Is he going to play on Saturday? We'll talk about that and much more on the other side of the break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back right after this.
This guy knows his sports, right? There's more of the Scoreboard with Joe Berg on the way on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Well, still some great weather for our Thursday. The low humidity hangs around for another day. We'll see plenty of sunshine. Temperatures will be comfortable, climbing into the mid-80s for the afternoon. As we get into Friday and into the weekend, the humidity comes back, as well as that low summertime-like chance for a few pop-up showers and thunderstorms. Weekend, though, is in pretty good shape. Mid-80s, a little sticky, but most of your outdoor plans should remain dry. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Prioritizing your health is one of the best ways to take care of yourself. From routine visits to the joys of pregnancy to the illnesses that stop you in your tracks, Iredell Health System will be by your side. Learn more at iredellhealth.org.
Bob McIntosh here with the McIntosh Law Firm in Davidson. Serving this community has been a collective passion of our law firm since 1997. We offer the quality legal services and results you would expect from a large downtown firm, but with a personal, community-focused approach right here at home. The McIntosh Law Firm, your local legal resource.
To learn more about the McIntosh Law Firm, visit McIntoshlawFirm.com.
Attention, fellow conservative investors. What does the name Reagan mean to you? It stands for being the ultimate conservative. It also stands for the Reagan Gold Group. Do you see storm clouds approaching? The stock market hates uncertainty, and there are plenty of reasons to be concerned. High inflation, unstable debt, and economic uncertainty are just a few. You have car insurance, homeowners insurance, and life insurance. But do you have insurance for your retirement savings and your 401k? We urge all fellow conservative investors to learn about the one asset that could help ensure your nest egg doesn't crack under economic pressure. G-O-L-D, gold. Call the one name any conservative investor needs to know about. Reagan Gold Group.
800-296-1557. 800-296-1557. 800-296-1557. That's 800-296.
Have you taken the Desco Challenge? Desco is where the professional goes for electrical supplies.
My name is Ashley. I just redid the lighting in my home, and the customer experience at Desco was second to none.
See for yourself at DescoInc.com.
76 years strong, and we're still the one. WSIC. News. Talk. Now.
More than a century ago, Bunch Johnson Funeral Home was founded on compassion. Let us assist you with pre-planning for funerals and cremations. Our family is here when you need us. Bunch Johnson Funeral Home.
I'm Bryce Johnson with this Unpacking It Sports and Faith Minute. Elimination games during the playoffs are always so intense and fun. Nothing brings out the best in a team like the desperation they play with when everything is on the line. What about in our own lives? Do we live with a desperation mentality when serving God? Oftentimes, something drastic has to happen before we're willing to surrender ourselves in total desperation for God. But we don't have to wait until we're actually desperate to live like we're desperate. Jesus has already shown us his amazing love, so our response each day should be one of surrender. Paul writes in Romans, I plead with you to give your bodies to God because of all he has done for you. Let them be a living and holy sacrifice, the kind he will find acceptable. This is truly the way to worship him. Today, let's allow our desperation to please God. Lead us to sacrifice everything we have, knowing that victory is the result. I'm Bryce Johnson, and you can unpack that. For more, go to unpackingit.com.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Stocks rallied today on new data defying the notion consumers are cutting back. Retail sales actually rose 1% in July. That blew past Wall Street estimates. The Dow added 555 points as a result, or 1.4%. The S&P was up 88, or 1.6%. The NASDAQ added 402, or 2.3%. Walmart is raising its financial outlook for the year. Lawn, garden, and seasonal products like pool noodles were standouts during the quarter. The retailer says if you combined all the pool noodles that it sold, the line would stretch out to 30,000 football fields. Walmart shares today were up close to 7%. The U.S. is out with a new price list of 10 drugs that were the first to be negotiated with drug companies as a cost reduction effort by the Biden administration. The cuts will lower the price of the medications between 38% and 79% beginning in 2026. I'm Nancy Lyons, Bloomberg Radio.
Talk sports with Joe Berg. Call 844-STUDIO-4. It's the Scoreboard on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, halfway point here on the scoreboard. Promised you we would talk some Carolina Panther news. Strap in. Because it seems like Dane Jackson could be out for a while. Here's the report. Carolina Panthers coach Dave Canales said after Thursday's joint practice, the hamstring injury suffered by starting cornerback Dane Jackson on Wednesday was significant. And additionally, he can miss up to 6 weeks. Canales also said the groin injury to starting safety Xavier Woods was a little more serious than we thought, and he is also going to miss a couple of weeks. That leaves the Panthers without one secondary starter and possibly two for that September 8th opener against the New Orleans Saints. Oh boy. Here's the problem. Carolina's got no cap space. They currently have $6.3 million in cap space, which is the second least in the NFL. I don't know how you can be that bad and spend that much money on your players. Sorry, I'm just being honest. I'm not trying to offend anybody, but how do they have no cap space to add? Apparently, the Panthers are interested in veteran cornerback Stephon Gilmore. Multiple sources said that the Panthers would be interested in Gilmore if the price is right. He's a veteran. He's 34 years old. He was definitely a top-tier cornerback back in the day, but not as we speak. But if you just need some warm bodies, I mean, he's got high football IQ. I wouldn't blame you if you wanted to bring in our buddy there. So Dane Jackson, Xavier Woods, both players going to be out for a while as they suffer injuries. And I told you guys at the beginning of the year, I said, before we even started training camp, I said, the goal for me, like as just somebody watching, the goal should be to get to week 1 without any major injuries. But at the same time, you do have to get ready for the season. I guess I'm just more upset at practice and training camp injuries than preseason injuries, because I say that and I keep clamoring to say, hey, Bryce Young, you need to be out there and play. Like, that's the only way you're going to get better is if you get out there and play. But yet we might not be seeing him at all this preseason. There's new reports coming out that, hey, Bryce Young might not play the entire preseason. I'm sorry, I hate to break it to you, Carolina, but you won 2 games last year. You guys could all improve a little bit. So throw him out there. Let him play. And if he gets hurt, well, I'm sorry, but that's football. Maybe you should have a better offensive line. I don't know. Injuries are just especially before the season. Matt Milano for the Bills, 2 years in a row. Great linebacker over there. Oh, well, really good linebacker for their system, I should say. He's going to be out for a while with a knee injury. I mean, these preseason injuries, they stink. The J.J. McCarthy injury, he is out for a year, for the entire year. He didn't even get to play in his rookie season. Justin Herbert, we still haven't heard about his plantar fascia injury. And that's one that's going to take a while to recover from, man. That is not a fun injury at all. Anytime you hear like something itis, it's like, ooh, ew, that doesn't sound good. It's not. I just kind of want to hit my head against the wall right now with what's going on in Carolina. There's also reports that Bryce Young has not been doing very well in these joint practices. I've seen the word dumb be thrown around quite a bit here. I don't know. If you're the head coach, I don't know if I'd want to call my players dumb, but maybe they're making really dumb decisions. I'm not out there. I mean, there's definitely dumb decisions to be made. You throw an interception to Shy Tuttle. It's like, what are you doing, man? How? What? I mean, I knew he was short, but man. 844-STUDIO-4, 844-788-3464. Let me know what you think if you have anything to talk about the Carolina. There's really not much to say about the preseason right now. I mean, if they expect for Saturday to be like the Jets of old, where they're going to come into Bank of America Stadium, we're going to have a feel-good game. Yeah, we're going to win a preseason. They got another thing coming for them because that Jets defense is young and they're good. And guess what? I would expect for some of their players to be starting. For the starters, I should say. Also, around the world of the NFL, it seems like Russell Wilson is going to be making his preseason debut. You know, that's a guy, he's got a Super Bowl under his belt. Yeah, he lost one in heartbreaking fashion, but he's playing in the preseason. Put Bryce Young out there, man. Like, let him, you have a new head coach. You have a new system here now. Let him go out there and play. Practice is great. Yes, I love it. Practice is good. Put him out there for practice. But there's nothing like game reps. And you have a preseason to get those game reps in for a reason. We've talked about the offensive production in week 1 in the NFL, week 2 in the NFL. And then you hear interviews, well, we're still getting revved up for the season. What? Prepare yourselves during the preseason. Come on now. And I could be completely off base here. I say this a lot. I don't know everything. This is just my personal opinion. But I would want my players playing, especially if they had a terrible year like they did last year. That was ugly. That was the worst season Carolina Panthers have ever had. 2 wins. And there was another game. There were 17 games. Trade for the number 1. I mean, it's just a snowball effect on the Panthers right now. The ownership's not great. We keep having new head coaches. You trade for the number 1 overall pick, so you give them your first-round pick next year. Turns out you were even worse the year after, so that's the number 1 overall pick. But guess what? You don't have it. So a star gem quarterback who everybody's supposed to know is going to be the next big thing goes to the team that you traded that pick to. It's a snowball effect. And now we got injuries in the preseason, and the word dumb is being thrown around. I mean, come on. It's going to be a long season, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you weren't expecting the Panthers to turn it around on the snap of a finger. This really might be a situation where they don't fix it until they get that next quarterback. And I don't want to jump that far ahead because they did make some really good moves in the offseason. They did. But I'm just nervous. I don't have faith in the team. Like, we'll see. And having these injuries definitely not going to help. Week 1 against the Saints, though. I mean, the Saints are also kind of trying to figure out where they're supposed to go. They're stuck in this mediocrity where they just continue to hover around 500, and they're still looking for their next steps as well. I'm not going to rant too much about the Panthers. Although I already did. Ha ha ha. Maybe we'll go over some college football stuff next. We have games coming up next week. Who would have thought? Next weekend, yes, next Saturday, there will be college football on TV. Week 0, my favorite thing. Another one. I'm not going to rant. I'm done. All right, we're going to go to commercial break. We'll be back. Don't go anywhere. We're going to talk a little college football, wrap up some baseball, other things going on around the sports world, and then we'll get to this day in sports history. Don't go anywhere. We're back after this.
More of Sports Director Joe Berg's The Scoreboard is coming up on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Well, still some great weather for our Thursday. The low humidity hangs around for another day. We'll see plenty of sunshine. Temperatures will be comfortable, climbing into the mid-80s for the afternoon. As we get into Friday and into the weekend, the humidity comes back, as well as that low summertime-like chance for a few pop-up showers and thunderstorms. Weekend, though, is in pretty good shape. Mid-80s, a little sticky, but most of your outdoor plans should remain dry. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. Langtree Live in Mooresville continues their free Thursday concert series with the Rocky Lynn Band on August 15th. Rocky brings his original and patriotic country music performance to Langtree Lake Norman off exit 31 from I-77. Grab your lawn chairs, set up your spot on the grass, eat and drink at the restaurants and pubs of Langtree, and enjoy the Rocky Lynn concert Thursday at 7 p.m. RevFast in Mooresville presents Hot Rods and Hops on Friday night. This monthly gathering for the car, truck, and motorcycle communities begins at 6 p.m. Food trucks and Hoptown Brewing will be on hand for eats and drinks. Bring your classic or new hot rod out and come make some new friends. RevFast Detail Shop in Mooresville presents Hot Rods and Hops on Friday night. The Cookout Monster Truck Bash is at the dirt track at Charlotte Motor Speedway this Saturday. Sparks will fly as the metal-bashing 2,000 horsepower machines return for a night of high-flying action on the planet's most diabolical outdoor course. Gates open at 4 p.m. Bring a Cookout Cup for a free early access to the pit party beginning at 3:30. Pit party includes monster truck rides, inflatable slides, bounce houses, face painting, an autograph session, and souvenirs. Opening ceremonies will begin at 7. Visit CharlotteMotorspeedway.com or the CMS app for information and details. Ghostface Brewing in Mooresville rocks their parking lot this Sunday with a concert by Black Glass. Waves Entertainment brings their stage and sound to Ghostface for a show by Carolina's premier rock and roll cover band. The brewery will be open to serve their full kitchen and draft beer menus. Rock the Lot begins at 5 p.m. Bring your chairs for a good seat at the 6 p.m. Black Glass concert at Ghostface Brewing in Mooresville this Sunday. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
Parents can find a quality classical Christian education at Headwaters Academy. For more information, the phone number is 704-876-1520.
Have your say.
Trusting the government to fix anything is a joke.
Be a part of the conversation.
We can't even trust the banks with our money.
This is WSIC News Talk Now.
Talk sports with Joe Berg. Call 844-STUDIO-4. It's the Scoreboard on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
All right, final segment. Woo! Happy Thursday! I'm excited, if you can tell. It's Thursday. As they like to say on Good Morning LKN, Little Friday. Hopefully everybody's making their way home safe today on this Thursday. 5:49 is the time. We got 11 minutes left here on the Scoreboard today. We got a few things to chat about here. Some things in the news. We've talked about gambling and the problem that gambling is going to present to sports teams and sports leagues. Well, gambling violations have now prompted Notre Dame to suspend the men's swimming team for an entire year after external review found numerous violations of the NCAA rules prohibiting gambling and that team members failed to treat one another with dignity and respect. There's not too much elaboration on that, but I would have a feeling that has something to do with hazing. That just sounds hazing-like. The NBA season. We chatted just a little bit at the beginning of the year. Here's my question for you guys. Christmas. Here are the games on slate for the NBA. As I just had it up and it seemed to not be able to find it now. We'll come back to the Christmas games. The NBA season is going to kick off October 22nd. The New York Knicks will be taking on the Boston Celtics. Probably should have been the Eastern Conference Finals, but wasn't meant to be. Was not meant to be. Here is your slate for Christmas. San Antonio Spurs at the New York Knicks, Minnesota Timberwolves at the Dallas Mavericks, Philadelphia 76ers at the Boston Celtics, and the LA Lakers take on the Golden State Warriors, and the Denver Nuggets at the Phoenix Suns. Does that in any way compete with what the NFL has done with their Christmas schedule? Because there are a couple of Christmas games for the NFL this year. They have been hopping on that trend as of late. I'm surprised it took them this long to do it. But the NFL has games slated for Christmas Day. 1 o'clock on Christmas Day, it'll be the Chiefs visiting the Steelers. At 4:30, it'll be the Ravens visiting the Texans. So you're going to have competing sports leagues now. The NBA, it used to be the NBA would own Christmas Day. They would also own New Year's as far as professional sport goes. New Year's kind of getting taken over by the NCAA football now, especially with the playoff and how that's going to impact when games are scheduled. Those New Year games are going to be even more important now. So just something to keep in mind. The NBA is kind of losing their marquee days where you're like, okay, yeah, I know the NBA is going to be big this day. Christmas, New Year's, they're starting to get overshadowed a little bit. Maybe they can compete, maybe not. The good news is the NFL isn't 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 8 o'clock like Thanksgiving, where they have the 3 games going on. But instead, they only have the 2. I guess they gave the NBA the night and said, you can have Christmas night, whatever. Everybody's tired by then anyway, so have the night games. It's kind of what I've seen, at least. Quick rundown on the MLB standings for you. We talked a little bit about this earlier, but we're going to start in the National League this time. The Dodgers only holding a 2-game lead over the Diamondbacks and the Padres. Man, that star-studded lineup is just not cutting it. I don't know what it is about that team, but we'll see. The playoffs is what matters. The Milwaukee Brewers have a 9-game lead over the Reds and the Cardinals. You have the Phillies 6 games ahead of the Atlanta Braves. The Phillies are in a really rough stretch, and the Braves just haven't been able to capitalize. The door is open. At least it was. The Phillies are going to come out of this slump at any minute. Atlanta's got to take advantage. I know it's going to be hard without Acuna, but they've done it before without Acuna. So, in the American League, you have the Astros 3 games ahead of the Mariners, the Guardians 4.5 games ahead of the Twins, and the New York Yankees hold a half-game lead over the Orioles still. That has been the closest race for a division so far in the MLB season. The Yankees were way out in front early, and then Baltimore reeled them down. Now these teams have been neck and neck for the past few weeks. So the MLB season winding down. Is Aaron Judge going to hit 60 home runs again? He's at 43 with 40 games to go. Home run every other day or every other game, and he's at 63. So I don't know if he can hit that pace, but he'll definitely get over 50. I'll tell you what, though. It seems unfair to me. It seems very unfair that Aaron Judge has 43 home runs, 110 RBIs, and he's hitting 333. He's getting a hit a third of the time he comes up to the plate. That just seems unfair. Like, pick one. You're going to be an average hitter, you're going to be a home run hitter. But it's not fair for you to be both. He's an anomaly. You don't see players like that anymore in baseball. You really never saw that ever, where you're going to hit 50 home runs. And, well, maybe back in the day, but back when Three Fingers McGee was at the plate. All right, let's take a look at some of the things that happened on this day in sports history. 2008, Ryan Lochte got a 1-2 finish with fellow American swimmer Aaron Pearsall in the 200-meter backstroke at the Beijing Olympics. It was a world record time for Ryan, 1:53.94. That was on this day back in 2008. 2012, on this day, Felix Hernandez became the 23rd pitcher in MLB history to throw a perfect game. It was a 1-0 victory versus Tampa Bay on this day, 2012. And MLB perfect games, they're rare. They are. Now, we had one, I believe it was last year, the 2023 season. Domingo Germán of the Yankees threw it against the Athletics, which is like, they're the Athletics. But before that, Felix Hernandez was the last player to throw a perfect game. Get this, there were 3 perfect games in 2012. And then we went over 10 years without a perfect game. There's an interesting little fact for you there. On this day, 1997, the Dodgers retired manager Tony Lasorda's number 2. 1993, Nolan Ryan's 324th and final victory as a major league pitcher. He beat the he beat the Indians 4-1. Mark McGwire made history on this day. Gotta love the era of the juiced players, not the juiced baseballs, the juiced players. He was the first player to hit 30 home runs in each of his first 4 seasons. 1990. We also have a few older things here. Formula One champion Jackie Stewart won his second F1 World Championship on this day. Even though he crashed out of the race, he had enough of a points lead to where it didn't matter. Let's see. In Chicago, it was coined Ernie Banks Day on this day. Former MLB shortstop for the Cubs, Ernie Banks Day on this day. Ralph Boston, American long jumper, set the world record on this day, 27 feet, 3.5 inches. That was in Jamaica. Not an Olympic event, I don't believe. Just a world event. That's just some of the things that went on this day in history. Oh, let's go with a really old one. Gotta love these old baseball ones. 19. No, it's old. 1886. MLB pitcher Guy Hecker scores 7 runs in one game. A pitcher scored 7 times. That's got to be some kind of record, right? I mean, it doesn't say it's a record, but you never see a pitcher score. You don't see a pitcher batting anymore. There's no National League. Yeah, I'm going to save that for another day, but there should not be a designator hitter in baseball. The National League had it right, where the pitcher has to hit. All right? You grew up your whole life playing baseball, hitting, as well as pitching. Now you go to college, you go to the pros, and you're done hitting? No, that's not baseball. The designated hitter is stupid. But that's not a hill I want to die on this day. I will die on that hill, but not today. Because we had a good show. We've made it to the end. I appreciate everybody for sticking around for this one. Tomorrow, we're going to preview the Panthers preseason game against the Jets. Some injuries. Maybe we'll find out who's starting quarterback for them tomorrow. I hope it's Bryce Young. Please just let him get some reps in an actual game instead of practice, instead of a joint practice. We're also going to preview Michigan and talk about some other things that happened along the way in the world of the sports. So until then, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Have a good night, everyone.
Serving you better than ever before. 105.9 100.7 WSIC, Statesville, More.